Well, each year for homecoming, Avondale honours a Young Alumnus of the Year for their dedication to transforming lives, their engagement with learning and discovery, and their commitment to service. This year's Young Alumnus of the Year is David Toogood. David, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We just want to take a moment to have a chat with you about what you've been up to since college and find out where you're headed. So I guess I like to start with the really basics. We get some context here. Where are you living at the moment?
So right now I am currently living in Foster, New South Wales, just a couple hours north of Avondale there, hanging out in lockdown, New South Wales lockdown. But the beauty of it is I get to spend lots of time walking on the beach for my allocated exercise. So that's nice.
I have to ask, with a surname like yours, Toogood, what nicknames did you get growing up? Did you get any, or am I launching into something that's not there?
No, so many. I'm just trying to think. Like there was definitely Too Bad, So Good,
yes.
like the sanitarium, So Good. I'm trying to think. Look, there was a whole bunch. To be honest, as a kid, I think most people didn't use too many nicknames, and then as an adult there's been a lot more.
If we can sort of take you back to your time at Avondale, which really was only 6 years ago, so it should be fresh in your memory. What did you get from your Avondale experience?
Yeah, no, I loved my time at Avondale. So I studied a Bachelor of Ministry and Theology there, which was super meaningful part of my journey, both academically and then also spiritually as well. Learning just really how to study the Bible in depth. But beyond just, I guess, the academics, my best friends in the entire world to this day were friendships that were formed at Avondale. And that's something that I really cherish in my life. And I think the other thing that I really valued in the Avondale experience was, and perhaps it's one of those like smaller university things, but the FaceTime that you have with the teaching staff, and the opportunity to build, I guess, a relationship that's beyond just a number in a classroom. When I was going through a few things with my own family, I felt comfortable being able to go and talk to the teaching staff about that and found not just encouragement and support, but also mentoring for my life. So really appreciate the friendships I built, the staff that are there, and the culture that Avondale has, and of course, the amazing degree that I got to study.
In 2016, you walked, have I got this right, 870 kilometres from the French-Spanish border all the way to the west coast of Spain.
Yeah.
That's huge. What was that about?
Yes, that's probably, I'd have to say, like hands down, one of the best things I've ever done in my whole life.
Would your feet say that?
By the end, I think they were okay. The first couple of weeks, definitely not. So I walked what used to be, well, it still is, a Catholic pilgrimage called the Camino de Santiago. Except unlike maybe 1,000 years ago when you did it, if you do it today, there's people from all walks of life and faith and religions on this pilgrimage that want that pilgrimage experience. And so the Camino de Santiago, the original concept of it was that you walk from your house, wherever that is in Europe, to the burial place of St. John the Apostle. And it was just the most phenomenal time of meeting people and living in a really different way of community and a different way of transport and travel, interacting with people from all cultures and all faith backgrounds, and just having an opportunity to do a real internal journey at the same time as well, and process life and all that's going on. So yeah, it was a really, really good experience.
And just quickly, how long did it take you?
So I did it in 28 days, so 4 weeks.
So for the 4 years after you graduated from college, you served in churches. I think you were also on the Gold Coast in a school, and also in Noosa, sort of doing some chaplaincy work there. Yeah,
so on the Gold Coast, I was associate pastor for Gold Coast Central Church. And then in Noosa, I was the campus pastor overseeing the chaplaincy department of the school and the campus church there, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were called over to one of the largest, I guess, churches in the Adventist system at La Sierra University Church in the United States. What was it that attracted you to that?
So I guess at the time I was, young in my 20s, I'm single. I thought, what an opportunity for just a wild adventure and something totally different. And so I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And so I obviously prayed about it and felt settled with the fact that God was saying this was my decision, and that God could bless, either outcome, and decided to choose the adventurous choice, I suppose.
But I guess it probably wasn't the adventure you were originally hoping for, was it? I mean,
No.
soon after you got there, lockdown kicked in. So, I mean, how did you even do ministry in lockdown, brand new to the place?
Yeah, so definitely an adventure that backfired a little bit. So I got there, and 5 weeks after I got there, we went into lockdown. So I still didn't really feel like I knew very many people. I was living by myself and had to work out how to be one of the pastors on this big team in this big church when you don't really know anyone, and you're trying to run the ministries that you're in charge of. And so there was a lot of initial sort of scrambling and sprinting around, making sure we were all online ready and ordering of microphones and good cameras and all sorts of things. And then, yeah, I guess ministry in its absolute essence didn't change a whole lot. It was still, Bible studies, and it was still socials, and it was still church services. And we continued to run as an essential service out of our church a really big food pantry ministry, which was super exciting. So that was like one little social connection that I would get one morning a week. I'd be able to go out and mask up and load boxes of food into cars for people that didn't have enough groceries. And but yeah, it was a lot of the same things in a very different format, with way, way less of a sense of community and belonging and home.
You were there 8 months. I think I've got that right. And you returned home to Australia. So what was the decision behind coming back to Australia then after 8 months?
So my dad actually got married at the end of that year, at the end of 2020, and I really wanted to be back for his wedding. There's a few other things going on, and grandparents that are getting older, and health isn't so great. And so those kind of priorities start to bubble to the surface, I think, when you have these really big, I guess, existential crises, if you will, that pandemic was for so many people. And so I think like that became more and more of a priority in my life. And I realized that when you could jump on a plane and be somewhere within 24 hours, if you have to be, it feels close living on the other side of the world. But when it takes 6 to 8 weeks of waiting, and then 2 weeks of quarantine, and all of the steps and hoops you have to jump through, you feel a million miles away. So that was a big part of it. And then I think the other really significant part was my own mental well-being. After being there for several months and still not really having much community, still not knowing people or feeling settled at all, I think my own headspace probably started to spiral out of control a little bit, refreshing Australian news 10,000 times a day, because the borders were just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I'm like, oh, am I going to be able to get home ever? And so I think a lot of those things kind of snowballed into a choice for family and just the need probably to protect myself and my future. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you had the clarity of mind to do that. So now that you're home in Australia, what are you doing? Where are you working?
Yeah, so I actually continued to work for La Sierra for about another 9 or 10 months after that. I just finished with them in June 30. So sort of finally reached the point where enough things are in person for them that it makes zero sense having an online pastor in a different country. But also my replacement arrived. So that's super exciting for them, really grateful. But also very grateful that I was able to continue for that time from Australia. They were wonderful to me. And so now, currently, I'm working at Woolworths. I am stacking shelves and loving the fact that in lockdown, that gets me out and interacting with people, and just the opportunity to do something that doesn't have too much mental strain is really exciting. And I'm looking towards, probably still kind of like the sky's the limit feelings going on, but probably doing some further study.
Because I guess my next question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years then from here?
Yeah, 5 years is impossible to answer. I think the way it feels trying to make plans right now, like next week, is about as much as I can think about. So yeah, loving where I'm at right now, and just that sense of like peace and content that comes from, I guess, knowing you've made the right choice. But still working out the where to from here. That's still a little in limbo. So yeah, we'll see.
And look, I think what's really apparent as I talk to you is that community is a really big part of who you are and what you want to invest in life. And for all the service that you've provided and all the, I guess, the foresight you have to do community in the future, we really appreciate that. And that's why we are honouring you this weekend at Homecoming. So congratulations, David.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
And just for those of you who are watching, there is so much more to David's story. So we encourage you to head to our Facebook page, our website, our blog, and you can read his citation there.